Give us your tired, your poor, your hungry, your rockers, your punks, your freaks, your geeks, your Greeks, your party animals, your gangsters, your commuters, your residents, your students, your alums, your lawyers, your truckers, your calls, your tweets. And we'll give you rock, classic, indie, punk, alternative, easy, hard, raps, rhymes, mixes and drops. We'll give you kick-ass music because we're WPSC 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio. Sound good?
WPSC FM 88.7, Wayne, New Jersey.
Part of the William Patterson Broadcast Network, Brave New Radio.
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
All right, well, as I promised, this morning is a Reading Circle triple header. And I've told you in the second and third hours, my guests would actually be live in the studio, and they are indeed here and on time, and they are sitting in the studio. I have three with me, and one is on the way. But I have Megan, I have Kelly, and I have Ron. Good morning to all of you.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Oh, great. You're coming through loud and clear. I can hear you in my headsets and the microphone, so everything is working. Ron said he's been waiting to be in radio. He was tuning up the voice this morning a couple of minutes ago. So good morning to you all. We're going to talk about their project. It's called they're part of the Images of America series, and they wrote a book about Prospect Park. And this is right here in New Jersey, not too far from Wayne, not too far from Patterson. And rooted in Dutch traditions, Prospect Park was established in 1901 with a view of what would become the New York City skyline. Prospect Park evolved into a community that placed an emphasis on family values and character. Children would often be seen on the streets jumping rope or playing together at the hayfields, which later became Hofstra Park. Parents worked locally in the borough and neighboring Patterson, known as Silk City. Families stopped in Verblaus Hardware for household goods and brought produce and flowers at Ilio's, which remains a vibrant business today. Though the borough has undergone an exceptional cultural transformation, Prospect Park has maintained its core values through traditions, cultural practices, and religious observances. With the Prospect Park School remaining the center of community life, New Hope Ministry and the Prospect Park Volunteer Fire Department remain essential to the life of the community. Prospect Park showcases the rich cultural, educational, and economic heritage of this northern New Jersey town. Prospect Park is right down the road. Matter of fact, I come through that as I come up to the studio on Saturday morning. So, all right, again, Megan, Kelly, and Ron, welcome to the Reading Circle.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mark.
All right. Thank you. So talk to me a little bit about, because I've seen this. I've seen the various books about New Jersey and the cities in New Jersey. What made you all take on Prospect Park?
Well, we were actually approached by Arcadia. And once we were approached by Arcadia, we were in the process of conducting an ethnographic community study of Prospect Park. So they had somehow gotten wind, and their New Jersey editor, who is based in North Carolina or South Carolina, got in touch with us, and we kind of toyed around with the idea of maybe we'll do a book, maybe we won't. And we sat down one day in October of, I think, 2014, and made this commitment of seven of us, including Dr. Verdicchio. And we sat down and made this commitment for a full year to really bring this book to life.
Now, are you two students?
We are. Well, Megan graduated last year.
From?
William Patterson.
Yes.
And I'm currently a senior here.
You're, here?
Yes, William Patterson.
Yes, and I'm a professor of anthropology and education at William Patterson.
So I heard Megan say Dr. Verdicchio.
Right.
All right. So
yes.
now
I'm Ron today, though.
I was going to say. And I'm glad to hear that, because some people get so hung up, and trust me, if you've earned a doctorate, I would want to be called doctor too, but not to the point where I make everybody go crazy. That if they don't call me doctor, I'd get silly. So the fact that you can come here and say, I'm Ron, I applaud that. He's a professor here at William Patterson University?
At William Patterson University,
All right. So for those of you in the listening audience, if you know him as Dr. Verdicchio, he's with us, but this morning he said he's Ron. So and we're talking about this project, Prospect Park. So I'm assuming this was a research project for you.
Yes, Mark, actually, first of all, let me say we're really happy to be here today. We can't thank you enough for this opportunity to speak with you. And I know this wide audience and our Dutch friends, hopefully somebody in the Netherlands will be listening to this broadcast, because it does have a relationship to them. And about 3 years ago, I was looking for a small community to do a study on, and a community study in anthropology. And I was fortunate enough to happen upon Prospect Park, New Jersey, which is about half a mile from here, by the way, which originally, as you pointed out, was a Dutch community. But I was also fortunate enough to have 6 or 7 students who could work with me, who were honor students at William Patterson. So together, we worked for about 2 years researching the community, talking to people, doing oral histories, doing volunteer work, handing out turkeys, walking around the streets, talking to people, going through archives, gathering information. So after about 2 years, as Megan said, what are we going to do with all this information? So we either do a publication that no one will ever read and it will be put in a library, or we do a publication that's public. So we decided to do at the invitation of Arcadia, the Images of America book, which can be purchased anywhere, certainly Barnes & Nobles, and of course on Amazon, and directly from the publisher Arcadia. So that's our story.
Well, as soon as I saw the cover image, I've seen their series. And also, I think you all were featured this month in the William Patterson magazine.
Yes, we were.
Yes,
we were.
because I opened up, because I get it at home each time it comes out, and I'm reading through it. And what came to my mind at that point, and this was after, I didn't connect the dots with Stephen emailing me till I read that, and I said, boy, I wish the folks up at William Patterson, I wish they would let me know whenever the professors write a book or either the students write a book, because this is a perfect venue. And when I started reading the names, I said, oh, they did let me know. I am thrilled to have you here because, A, all of you are William Patterson people. I'm a William Patterson alumni twice as well. I mean, I did my undergraduate here when it was William Patterson College, and then did a master's here when it was William Patterson University. So I've been here on both phases of it, and then in between did a degree over at Fairleigh Dickinson. So between the 3 degrees, 2 of them are from here. And,
great.
And have been on the air here for the last 14 years. So William Patterson is my heart and my home. And it's so close to Prospect Park and Patterson. I'm a principal of a school right down the hill, and folks that live right down in the hill of Patterson still don't know William Patterson exists, and it's less than 2 miles away.
Right.
So when I bring the kids, we schedule college tours up here to let them know William Patterson is right up the street, and it is a major force in this area. So as you were working on Prospect Park, what did you learn? What did we learn about Prospect Park? And back to your point, Ron, about the Netherlands, yes, we web stream around the world, regardless of time zone. If they have internet connectivity, it's just a matter of logging on to gobrave.org. So we are web streaming around the world. So what did you learn about Prospect Park?
Well, for one thing, as we mentioned before, it was a community founded in 1901 by Dutch settlers for Dutch settlers. And in recent times, it has seen a cultural transformation, which much more diversity coming in. And so our goal was to go into the community and to examine that diversity to see, how the longtime residents have responded to the newcomers, how the newcomers are adjusting, as well as what effect that transition, that cultural transformation has had on the schools. So that was kind of the goal, guiding questions of our research project going in.
Prospect Park has some interesting boundaries and borders, because I know it goes right down to, around that, I want to say North Main Street. It's right off of North Main going into Hawthorne.
Yes, it borders to the south Patterson.
Right.
It borders to the west Haledon.
Correct.
To the north Haledon, and to the east Hawthorne.
Correct.
Yes.
And I'm familiar with Prospect Park because my wife actually lived there for about a year and a half. Right prior to us getting married, she was in Prospect Park. Then she moved to Elmwood Park, and now we have our home in Patterson. But I'm very familiar with Prospect Park and the school there. Mm-hmm. How did the community receive, as you were doing their research? How did they take? I mean, did you let them know that you were trying to write a book, or?
Well, since we didn't have that goal in mind at the beginning of the research, gaining entry was a little bit difficult. This is a town that when newcomers come in, everybody starts trying to change their ways.
Yes.
So when they saw the rest of the team, because I joined the team about a year and a half into the research, they weren't really welcomed. Not so much welcomed. They were just, there are new people here. What are you doing in our community? What do you want to change now?
Correct. And I'm shaking my head and smiling because when my wife moved there, because this is obviously prior to us getting married, when she moved there, I mean, like, they go through these certificates of occupancy, and the fire inspector has to come, and this and that. They really go through a certification process. That's what I'm trying to say. And you're right. If you move into Prospect Park, there is almost like, for lack of a better word, a certification process. And you're right, they really do. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because they know their community. They want to know who's coming in here. And so I don't blame them for that. So again, so it was received in an interesting kind of way. But so was Prospect Park a part of this series prior to you all?
Well, we mean in terms of
was it Arcadia you said? In terms of the Images of America, because like I said, I've seen the other towns and communities.
Yeah, Images of America is a series that Arcadia does, and it focuses on local history. Now, we're not historians. Everyone has been trained in anthropology, a method of studying cultures. But Mark, I want to take you back to 100 years ago. What makes Prospect Park unique is that the settlers in 1901 decided that they didn't want all of the urban, what they would call mess at that time around 1900 or so. They didn't want bars, liquor stores. They didn't want nightclubs. They wanted a community that was for Dutch workers. So the Dutch workers who worked in the silk mills in Patterson moved about a quarter of a mile over the bridge on the Passaic River and settled in this 1/2 or less than 1/2 square mile. And but they wanted their own Dutch community. So if we were walking on the streets in probably up until the 1950s, we would have heard Dutch spoken on the streets. The names would have all been in Dutch, except for one small area in the northwest corner that was Italians. And the Dutch people would refer to it as those Italians up there. But essentially it was a Dutch Christian community where church was required on Sundays, sometimes twice. And the blue laws were so strict that you couldn't hang clothes on the line, cut your lawn, do any kind of work outside of your home.
Wow, I guess to a certain degree, it's kind of sad we moved away from that. But now, in terms of, because we're emphasizing the Dutch, is it still predominantly a Dutch population, or has it migrated out or moved out, or have we seen a population shift?
There has definitely been a population shift. There are a few longtime residents, born and raised, same house, and we've spoken to some of those residents. They've invited us into their homes and shared their stories with us, but it very much has moved away from its origins. We still see Dutch traditions and values, rooted in the community. Faith seems to be, and religion seems to be a glue that still holds the community together in terms of events that they host, community building events. And you still see the windmill, of course, in their borough hall. But in terms of cultural makeup of the community, it very much has changed.
The composition of the community transitioned very relatively quickly over about a 10-year period from Christian Dutch with that small Italian population or a population of Italian descent in the northwest corner, to a population that is Middle Eastern Arabic, African American, Hispanic, and there's a very, very small percentage of the longtime residents who remain in the borough. And what we wanted to do in our book was tell that story. We wanted to tell the story of transition, of diversity, and how in a relatively short period of time the community changed.
I'm familiar with Prospect Park because I experienced it for almost 2 years, I guess. I mean, I guess I know School 1 there. And in terms of the Arabic, because the mayor himself is Middle Eastern Arabic or something along that. Am I correct?
Yes, he was, I believe, the first Muslim mayor of a community in New Jersey. He has been in office for 6 years or so as a mayor. In fact, I believe he was just reelected in that position. But the town was apparently home to a group of Circassians, Muslims, who came in the 1970s. And like so many receiving communities, they lived in the community, were groundbreaking in terms of their ethnicity. And then like most receiving communities, they moved out to the suburbs. And then, of course, a new group moves in. But that is pretty much the story of Prospect Park, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share some information with the listening audience. I moved away from saying we're going to take a break because we really don't, and we don't go anywhere, and I don't want the listening audience to go nowhere, but I do tell them to get on their social media sites and let them know that the folks are on the air. I just tweeted a cover of the book and told folks the authors of this book is on the air to tune in to gobrave.org. Audience, I ask you to do the same. I have Megan, I have Kelly and Ron here, and we're talking about the history of Prospect Park, New Jersey. And when we come back from sharing this information with you, we want to get into the significance of why books like this and talking about history and anthropology are so important. So stay there. Don't you move unless you're getting closer to the speakers. Get on all your social media sites and let them know that Ron, Kelly, and Megan are on the air with me right now.
Let's take a look at some stats on sexual assault in the U.S. About 54% of rapes are not reported. The chance of getting raped in prison is 1 in 10, while a woman's chance of getting raped while walking down a street in America is 1 in 5. Think that's crazy? Well, every 2 minutes, a woman is sexually assaulted in the U.S. It's on us to prevent sexual assault. Don't sit back and watch these numbers grow. Visit www.feminist.org to see how you can take action.
Want to expand your horizons? Want to broaden your mind? Well, listen to the only show of its kind. Listen to the Reading Circle.
We bring you what's going on in the world of reading, in the world of books. Sometimes the book may be from 20, 30 years ago, because the thing about books, they are timeless, particularly if there's a good message. And then there are times when we do books that are hot off the press, that were just released.
Listen to the Reading Circle every Saturday morning from 6 a.m.
The Reading Circle with your host, Marc Medley.
Only on WP 88.7 FM.
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
Yes, indeed, you are listening to round 2, or if you're a baseball fan and a doubleheader and we're in game 2. I said today we had a triple header because I actually had in all 3 of the hours a guest. We had Denise Rezonia in hour 1, and in hour 2 I have right in front of me live Megan, Kelly, and Ron. As a matter of fact, since they are in the studio, because I share with you whenever my guests are on the telephone, I do not want to deal with trying to conference folks in and drop in lines and all that kind of stuff. But when my guests are live in the studio, if you want to call in and chat with them, you can do that. The number is 973-720-2738. If you want to talk to either Megan, Kelly, or Ron, or for those of you who know him as Dr. Verdicchio, it's 973-720-2738. You can come on. You can give them a call if there's something you want to know about Prospect Park. Because one of my questions is going to be, in your discovery, did you learn why they named it Prospect Park? Did that ever come up in the discovery at all in terms of how it named itself?
Well, it did, actually. What we were told by local longtime residents was that they really weren't sure why it was called Prospect Park. So we put that in the book, and then we had a gentleman who pointed out to us that it was named after Prospect Park in Brooklyn. There wasn't anything to substantiate that.
Okay.
So whether that was local folklore or not. However, if you are on North 8th Street, you get a beautiful view of the New York City skyline. So whether the founders like the prospect, the view, it's all open to question, but we really don't know the answer to that.
Well, that's what I was thinking in terms of, because a lot of times things are named based on what the word actually means. So to Ron's point, is it from the standpoint of having the prospect of New York, or, I was thinking in terms of along the lines of prosperity or what have you. But what I was saying in terms of right before we shared the information with you, the importance of history. And that has become, I think I see your fourth person out there. Let me see if I can let her in after I ask this question. In terms of history, and history as I get older becomes more and more important to me. And I just came from a trip overseas during spring break. And last year I went to Germany, Switzerland, and Italy. This year I went to London and Paris. And in each one of those trips, something about World War II would always come up. And I realized I don't know a whole lot about World War II. So what that did for me was to come back now, and I started downloading all these books and getting all these books about World War II because I wanted to know now the history of it. Where I'm going with the question is, in terms of doing the history of a Patterson, of a Prospect Park, of an Elmwood Park, now I think over in West Patterson they call it Woodland Park. All of those at some point, if I'm not mistaken, were a part of Patterson. Did you find that out at all? Were we ever kind of in the Patterson borders and broke away from it and redistrict, or how did that whole, or were they, or was this property a part of some other part of New Jersey?
Well, Patterson was always a city unto itself. The surrounding area was Manchester Township, which was like much of New Jersey, like a sprawling area of farmland, woods, and so on. However, the Dutch workers did this. They convinced the policymakers, the lawmakers in Trenton, which is the capital of New Jersey, to break apart that 1/2 or less than 1/2 square mile because they wanted their Dutch town. So they came from Manchester Township.
Hence Manchester High School.
That's right.
See, you just gave me some more.
Rainville.
Say it again?
Paige Rainville.
Kelly, Ron, and Paige just joined us. So, Paige, you were part of this project as well?
Yes, I've been doing it since 2012.
Since 2012. How long did the initiative take?
2.5.
2.5 years to go. Okay. Now, needless to say, Ron and I are the oldest two in the room.
I actually started out as an education and an English major, and when I started, I didn't know what anthropology was till I got to college. And so I took a class with Dr. Verdicchio, and it introduced me to anthropology, which encouraged me to make anthropology a minor and then continue pursuing it as a third major. So,
excuse me. When I had arrived at William Patterson, I was also an education major, which had led me to the same class that Kelly had taken with Dr. Verdicchio. Ron as well, and he had invited me at the end of the semester to join the team. Now, although I've moved away from an education major and have taken on something else, that was how I had gotten my start with this.
And I'm also an education major. I took the same class, and I actually have really nothing with anthropology as a minor or major, but I did choose this for my independent track for the Honors College, so kind of. I got a little anthropology.
Well, you know what? All you education majors, I give you a big round of applause, as well as this, because I'm the principal of one of the schools in Patterson. So I've been in education now for 15 years after coming out of corporate America for 15 years. But education has always been my first love, so I went back to it. And now I'm the principal of a grammar school, if that's what we used to call it grammar school. Now they call it elementary school, and they broke it out into middle school. So I have a combination of a middle school and an elementary school. My grades range from 1 to 8. So we need more educators. So if those of you that are staying on the track, stay on there, and those of you that have left it, I understand that too.
Well, Marc, it's now that you brought that up, let me say that this is a very unique project with unique people. We have 2 Arabic speakers. There are some people, unfortunately, who weren't able to be here today. We have 2 Arabic speakers. We have 2 Spanish speakers on the team, And what makes this unique is that we did all of this research as undergraduate students. Most of this type of research is done with graduate students, and we had the good fortune, at least I did certainly, of having the pleasure to be with undergraduate students who are honor students. So that makes it unique. Also, is we own the intellectual property in common. All of us own a share of it, the copyright, and our proceeds go to a scholarship at William Patterson University. So the royalties that we get from our book, plus what we sell directly, the proceeds from that go to a scholarship for a student from Prospect Park. We awarded our first $1,000 scholarship in November, and we're very proud of that. Our plan is to endow the scholarship so that it will go on in perpetuity, but we are all named in the scholarship for the student from Prospect Park.
Outstanding. One of my standard questions to my author guests, because you told me it's a 2.5-year project.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw the cover on Amazon, and this is for any of you, because actually it's for all of you. I just saw the cover on Amazon. Like I said, I've seen the type books like in Hoboken. I've seen other areas that they've done. What was it like for you now that it was 2.5 years later, and now you have that in your hand, and you know you created it? What was it like for you?
It was the best feeling. Because it was of our project, we had no idea what we were going to do. We just knew we wanted to research Prospect Park because it's so unique. So to have that as our final project, something that could be in anyone's hands, was really a cool experience. It was the best feeling.
Kelly?
I think for me personally, coming in freshman year, I never thought I would be part of a research team, let alone publish a book, co-author a book as an undergraduate. So I think now it's empowering and it's motivating, and it's like, what's next? So
it was surreal for me. Being involved in this project for so long, working how many hours we did. I mean, there was 2 weeks at the end of last spring semester. We were working nonstop. We were actually at Valley Road in the conference room where we ate breakfast and lunch together and just put this book together along with all the research that we had done prior to actually writing the captions and the photos. And it was such a big process. To actually have it in your hand was so surreal that, I mean, a couple of friends of mine have gotten it thrown in their face because it's
I don't blame
it's
you.
in my hands, and I can be like, look what I did.
That's right. And see, now this is a live, living. This is not just a project, a research paper that's going to wind up on Dr. Verdicchio's desk. This is a project that when you walk into a Barnes and Noble, regardless of where you are in the country, or if you go on the website, this is something that you created together. So I have to imagine, because like this is for me. All right, I've been on the air 14 years, and I have interviewed guests of all magnitudes, from the high profile to the no profile. Okay. All right. So I literally, a few years ago, I was in Georgia with my mother, and we walked into a Walmart. And I went into the book section, and I'm walking in there, and I'm now picking up books of people I've talked to on this show. And I'm like a kid. Now, I'm 50 years old, and at that time, because I'm older than that now, but at that time I was 49, 50 years old, and I'm jumping around that aisle like a kid. Mom, I know this person. Mom, I've talked to this person on the phone. I can only imagine that when you walk into a Barnes & Noble and you come across that section, then when you pick up that book, you're going to be like, Mom, this is me. Dad, this is me.
Yeah.
What is it? Have you had the experience yet of walking into the store?
I definitely have. I think it was a week after our book was published. I was in Hallmark in Wayne, and I was paying for a card, and I saw our book, and I was like, I wrote that. Like, wow.
It is. I mean, it really is. It's because this. Anytime you do anything creative or artistic, historical that's in print like that, that's what's coming through you. In other words, the satisfaction comes from that's something that came out of me, and now I'm sharing with the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. All right.
We've had some, some great publicity on this book. Of course, here today, this is a global reach, and we can't thank you enough for that.
Oh, I can't thank you because, as I said a couple of minutes ago, somehow I'm going to have to connect in with the rest of the university for all the professors and the students that are doing anything that's published to get on here.
Yeah.
It seems like a natural alliance to me. So, for those that we know that are doing this around the campus, somehow I got to get the word out that the show is here and I'm open and available to you.
Well, we're going to help you with that.
Good.
And back to your point of the meaning of the book is that, first of all, this book is in the Library of Congress. That's the first thing. Secondly, this book is the only published history of Prospect Park.
Correct.
The only published history. So that when we did this project, we looked for a central resource, and there wasn't one. So this is the only history. We have had the pleasure of speaking with people in the last 4 months who have taken us to places we never thought we would go to as a result of this book, and the relationships that we've established with people who saw the picture in the book said, hey, that's me when I was in kindergarten.
That's right.
Very powerful.
Now, I have a caller on the line. Now, sometimes I have certain callers that call in. They may or may not be listening and may not be aware that it's you all. So let me see who's a caller. You're on the line. Oh, they were on the line. Okay. All right. There we go. All right. So we got the caller off the line. So I guess they hung up or had the wrong number, one or the other. Okay. So back to... Even though when you began the project, the Prospect Parkians, for lack of a better term, now that it's out and published and they see it, what has been their reaction now that the book is out and it says Prospect Park?
I'd say that we've had mixed reactions.
So even with something that's publicizing them and is putting them on the world map, it's still kind of getting that?
Yeah, well, I think that it's still, these outsiders have come into their community.
But the community is who told you the story.
So we do have, especially with our the residents that we've been in contact with, we've gotten praised and thank yous, and this is really amazing. I mean, you're telling my childhood right here, and they've given us more and more stories after the book was published.
Of course.
That we could have put in the book.
Yeah.
So
I think we have a stronger connection with people who used to live in Prospect Park, and we've got a stronger reaction from them than from current residents, just because they have a stronger connection to what our book is about. And it's about the past, it's about that history. So the people who we are getting the reactions from, the positive, like, oh my goodness, I see my niece, or I see my sister or my brother in this book, or myself, it's been more of a positive reaction from them because they have that connection.
I find it interesting because Paterson is the third largest city in the state of New Jersey. Mm-hmm. Historically, it played a role in the world, as we said, the Silk City. And these people, I imagine, were some of the workers, as you said, that were going into Paterson to these factories down on Mill Street and Grand Street and McBride Avenue, all that area that is now where the Silk City, where the factories are. So I can only imagine that as they start telling, because my guess is a lot of the residents would probably be talking about their grandparents. Did you find folks saying, well, my grandmother was here, my grandfather was here, and,
yes.
and they worked? Talk to me a little bit.
Yeah, I actually went to Eastern Christian High School, and there's a strong Dutch community there. So the people you're talking about saying my grandfather, my grandmother, they're all people that I went to high school with. So it's been very cool for me to have that connection with people and to say, hey, why is my grandma in your book? Or, that kind of thing.
But again, like I said, for me, history, the older I get, the more history plays a role in what I want to find out about it and how things connect. So to hear now how these communities started expanding, as folks started, we're like, you know what, we were working down here and we started pushing out because we wanted to have our own community. We wanted to be around our own folks. Or did you have folks, okay, they were Dutch, it was a Dutch community. Were these folks that originally migrated from the country here?
Yes, one of the things that we found, Mark, was that the early workers came from a section of the Netherlands called the Gory Overflakkee Islands, which is close to Amsterdam, would be the best way to describe it. And they migrated to Paterson to work in the silk mills around the late 1800s, sometime around 1880. And like most immigrant communities, when one family came, the rest followed. But they came specifically to work in the dye houses. They were craftsmen. They were laborers. And interestingly, they were not connected with what we would call the Jersey and New York Dutch settlers, the Peter Stuyvesant descendants. They were a group unto themselves, and they came here specifically to work in the silk mills in Paterson. But again, they wanted their own community. They were very religious people. They didn't want to be mixed up in the urban affairs around 1900, again with working man's bars and liquor stores. So they wanted their own town. One of the things that we are interested in, and that perhaps is our next project, is to trace their roots back to the Flaky Islands in the Netherlands. We hope will be our next project.
It's interesting, Ron, to hear you say that, because it's just always fascinating to me. How did people find Paterson? And I still, to this day, I always wonder, because immigrants still find Paterson. It's just a different set of immigrants, and I'm always like wonder, how did you find Paterson? I mean, I know I was born in Paterson, but it's like, for those, how did you find Paterson? And so it's interesting to hear that. We're going to share some more information with the listening audience. My 4 guests in front of me is Paige, Ron, Kelly, and Megan will be with me for another 20 minutes or so. So do let someone know. They all went on their Facebook. They broke their phones out. We've been having a ball in the studio. We're taking pictures of each other. We're hitting our social media sites from our electronic devices. I have the Apple Mac in front of me that I turn around and start typing on. So I need you to do the same thing. I need you to get on your social media sites, tune in to gobrave.org, and hit the little orange. I believe it's the last time I looked, it was orange. Hit the little orange box that says listen, because that's the William Paterson University colors. It's orange and black and white. So the last time I looked, I think that box was orange. Hit that listen box and you can hear us live. Just make sure your speakers are on.
Hi, my name is Stan Myers, and I'm here at FM 88.7. I do a jazz show called Just a Mood. And if you like the music, anything from Louis to Lester Bowie, I'm your man. That's Sunday afternoons, 3 to 6. Looking to hear from you. Okay.
Wake up Wednesdays at 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. for a midweek morning medley mix with B Fish.
It's that hump day. It's that hump day. That's what we do here. We try to pound that hump out. Yes, sir. Everyone's listening. Everyone across the country hears these radio waves. Everything's coming out. So, most important show in the country. That's right. I think that's a black thing.
Wow, thanks, man. The Weenie.
One thing, though, that I did want to add to your conversation about, is their ego.
And chill with Chike.
It's for the ladies. Wake up, America. I try to tell my girl that. She doesn't understand.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are solely those of the hosts and guests and are not necessarily supported by WP 88.7.
Yeah. Smooth Talk Radio.
He's a great lyricist.
He's a great feature artist.
I got a few other things. Let's see. We got a hip-hop subject. We have a scandalous subject, and then something that I don't really care about.
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
Yes, indeed, you are. We are in hour 2 of the Reading Circle. We have a third guest on tap in the 8 o'clock hour. Our first guest was Denise Rissonia. And in the studio with me live is Megan, Kelly, Ron, and Paige. And for those of you who may not know who Ron is, he is Dr. Verdicchio, one of the professors here at this wonderful university. See, I can say wonderful because this is my alma mater. Like I said, spent twice, whenever it was college as well as university. And I'm looking here on the Amazon site about the book, and there's a little blurb down there that actually was leading me to my next question, because I looked at the cover of the book and it says the cover picture says it all: American Legionnaires in wooden shoes. Talk to me about the cover, because it's talking about American. Is there some significance to the Legionnaires and the wooden shoes? Clearly, wooden shoes and Dutch, they go together. But what is the American Legionnaires all about? What is that all about on the cover?
Well, this is a picture of the American Legion post from Prospect Park, and they were fondly called the Wooden Shoe Post because they are marching in their wooden shoes, which is obviously an ode to their Dutch heritage. They often did that. They did that every year. They would walk in their Dutch wooden shoes.
Again, and I'm looking at the reviews, and so far the reviews, you're at the 5-star level. It says, wonderful book and comprehensive collection of photos. Even if you've never lived in Prospect Park, you'll feel like you're a native by just reading through this delightful, well-researched tome or tome. Great history about my hometown. Lots of photos that were never seen. Brought back a lot of great memories. Thanks to the people that put it together. Now, when you hear something like a Prospect Park, did anyone ever say, and maybe they did or maybe they didn't, I don't know, that does it connotate it being a large place or a small place? Whenever you say did anybody say, you know what, we're only 1 point whatever square mile, whatever we are, but people hear our name and think we're much larger, or do they feel like as if to say we're quaint?
Well, it's one of those places where we would say, we're doing research on Prospect Park, and they would say, well, yes, I know where that is. Oh, wait a minute, where is that? Where is that? Where is Prospect Park? And then when you point it out to them, they would say, oh, yes, we drive through Prospect Park all the time, but it is a blink. You blink on one side and you blink on the other, and that's it. You are through Prospect Park.
All right, we have a caller on the line. Is this caller calling to talk to my 4 guests?
Yes, I am.
All right. Who do I have on the air with us?
I'm Michelle, and I'm also a student at William Patterson University.
Well, welcome, Michelle. Thank you for calling this morning. All right. I see my 4 guests know who you are. All right. Do you
So what we hope will happen is that we will enjoy this moment that we are in. It will generate questions that others will have. We look forward to an invitation from our publisher to do a second edition. But all of that said, we are actively engaged in discussions with a foundation in New York City that supports history projects and anthropological ethnography projects, and we hope to go to the Netherlands next summer, perhaps as part of a study abroad initiative, to research where the settlers from Prospect Park came from. So that's where we're thinking at. But by the way, we are open to new ideas, though.
Well, that's wonderful.
All right. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for calling in. Any other questions you have for the panelists? And you said you're a William Patterson student as well. Congratulations to you. You picked the best university in the world.
Forward to anything else that comes about from this group. They're going to go great places.
All right. Well, thank you very much. If anybody else would like to join the conversation, just as Michelle just did, the number is 973-720-2738. Feel free to call in. We'll get you on the air as well. Michelle, great question. Okay. You heard Michelle call in, and let me ask all of you a question, because you found your way into anthropology one way or the other. How did you find your way there? So for Dr. Verdicchio, was anthropology your major whenever you were in school, or what piqued or sparked your interest in anthropology?
I am a educator by trade. I was a school administrator for many years. I came to William Patterson 15 years ago, teaching ed leadership. I got interested in anthropology and went to Columbia as a postdoctoral student, studied it, had the good fortune to now be able to teach it. So I came late in my career and found it to be most interesting and applicable to all the work that we do in education.
So is anthropology in the education major tracked?
It is not a track. It is an elective that all of the students in the College of Education take as a prerequisite. So we want all of our students at William Patterson who are teachers to have broad preparation in cultures prior to their entering teacher education.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Okay, so now that's how the three of you got connected as education majors.
Yes.
Oh, it makes. And you, Ron, you were in the Ed Leadership Program?
I was, initially when I came to William Patterson, I taught in Ed Leadership.
So were you there when Michael Chiricello was there?
I was with Michael in cohort number 1.
Okay, that's the program I came through to get my MA as well in Ed Leadership.
Yes, I taught current issues and policy, which was my original area. And since that time, of course, then I've grown into other areas. But yes, that was my
so
first experience.
that's a mutual acquaintance then. I mean, Michael and I. Again, matter of fact, now that we've talked, I'll have to tweet him or text him or email him or something to let him know that we came together. And so, okay, education measures. So that makes all the sense in the world in terms of knowing the history and the background of various cultures. And again, from the Prospect Park, if you've just joined us, which I hope you've been with us since 6 o'clock, I really do. But if you joined us in the 7 o'clock hour, welcome in that hour as well. We're talking about a book that's in the Images of America series. Now, let me tell you what a big deal this is, because this didn't say Images of New Jersey. It didn't say Images of, Patterson. It said Images of America. So obviously this company does around the country, and you got Prospect Park in there. So I would think for the Prospect Park folks, they would be indebted to you for getting their history out there. MC is noting here in the description about the Prospect Park Volunteer Fire Department remains essential. The New Hope Ministry, the rich culture. What is this? Aiello's? Is that the fruit shop?
Yes.
It is.
You want to do another community, or you want to do something else? You want to continue the research? Or I heard Ron say possibly going overseas to research it, doing, that's a wonderful experience whenever you start doing the overseas work. Come on, talk to me about your thoughts.
Well, that would be our goal, would be to trace back the roots of the history. But we're kind of in the process of enjoying this publication and looking forward to what we could possibly do. We did visit the Dutch Embassy when we were in Washington, D.C. on a little bit of a book tour kind of thing. And we visited the Dutch Embassy, and they were very interested in what we were doing. So we have that kind of connection there. So it was very cool to see that even people from that area were interested in our work, not just Prospect Park.
Now, one of you or two of you moved away from education?
I moved away from education.
You moved away, but you're still in it?
I'm still in education.
And Paige, are you still in it as well?
Yes, I'm student teaching right now.
Okay, now, then where I'm going with this is, once you now are the teacher and you get into your classrooms, you're going to be able to hold this book up. And I can tell you, nothing fascinates or ignites or excites students more than to actually have the author of a book standing before them. The show, the second time slot I was in used to be Friday mornings from 6 to 7:30. And many of the authors that would come live into the studio like this, I would ask them, what are you doing after the show? And they would say nothing. I said, well, can you come to my school with me? And they would come with me, and I would bring them into the classroom because I was teaching at the time. I would bring them into the classroom, and they would hold up their book and turn it around and show their picture on the back of it, and the kids would lose their minds. Your students are probably going to do the same thing. Whenever you now say, you know what, boys and girls, when I was in college, we wrote this book. We put this book together. Are you kind of looking forward to that, or even now? I mean, are you doing book signings like you're doing radio appearances? You were in the college magazine. I mean, there's no telling where this thing can go.
Yes.
We have been quite busy. I believe we've had about 3 book signings now. But to answer your question, I'm so excited to get into the classroom. I think it's such a beautiful thing because as a teacher, one of the things you can do is inspire your students, and you can make them believe in themselves and their capabilities. And that's something that Dr. Verdicchio did for me personally, and I'm sure for all of us, sitting in his classroom, he thinks we can join this research team, he thinks we can write a book. So being able to share that experience with my students is something I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah, I've actually had the opportunity in a practicum setting to share with some third grade students our work, because it was right after it had been published. So they were really excited, but they were also like, wait, like you said, like, that's you in this book. Like, how did that happen? So especially using like Writer's Workshop, getting them inspired in that way, like Kelly said, to actually, this isn't just something we do in school just to, get you through the day. This is something that you can do for your life and that can have an impact on people.
And Megan, what do you know what you're shifting towards, or have you changed your mind to something else?
I'm actually coming back to Lane Patterson in the fall for the graduate program for communication disorders.
For communication, so you're still going to work with kids?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so all right, same deal then. So what are your thoughts in terms of being able to now, particularly, so when you start talking communications, books and all those things are a part of how we communicate. So
well, I'll be going into communication disorders, so I'll be helping either clients be able to speak fluently, or hopefully if they have lost, hopefully not, but if they lost some portion of their ability to communicate, I can help them gain that back. And being able to show something like this that I could possibly use as an example of how to help them speak fluently, how to get them back into the game, if interesting things, it'll be able to be really, really cool. And to have the firsthand experience to kind of describe the process and how I felt would hopefully inspire somebody else.
All right, Ron.
Mark, I wanted to say that when students come into my office and they see the display of the book, many of them have questions about the book, and I point out how we all wrote this together. That it wasn't my book, it was our book. It's what we all did. I have passed it around to my graduate and my undergraduate classes. I want them to see what college students at the undergraduate level are capable of doing, making a real contribution to local history, making a contribution in anthropology such that the research, the hard work that they do in classrooms really has some practical application. And I want to put a plug in for teachers and teaching and communication disorders people. Cultures are basic to the world we live in. Regardless of whatever your job is, whatever profession you're going into, you need to have a very solid base, a foundation for understanding diversity. And we hope that through this project, through the work that we did in this book, that we would be able to pass that along to others. So, and do you have any other comments on this while Mark just took a brief hiatus?
I would say that even not just being within the work world, just going through life itself, there are so many cultures in our country, and they're just continually coming into our country. Why not educate yourself about everybody else and have some patience, because there can be a lot of misunderstandings just without that knowledge of their culture.
And as an educator, you work very closely not only with students but with their families. So understanding culture is key to being an educator and key to being a good educator.
No, it really is. As a matter of fact, my question, and Ron took me right there. One of the things I share with my teaching staff every time we meet is teachers make every other profession possible. I don't care if you're the president, the emperor, astrophysicist, anthropologist. I don't care what it is. You had to have had a teacher. All right. Somebody taught you something. You had to have had a teacher. So the fact that you want to go into that line of work, because that was going to be my next question for you, is what's making you want to do things in education or with kids? Because I'm telling you, teaching is not for the weak need. The weak in the world. Exactly what Dr. Verdicchio was just talking about. You all have had the opportunity to now impact the world in your college years already. Real life application. So he's opened the door or a window and an opportunity for you to be a part of a real life project. Not something that's going to sit on his desk or on the shelf, but this is something that's going to be in bookstores, community-wide, worldwide. So in terms of education, back to my original question, and then we're going to close with this before I let you promote the book one more time, because that was my other guest calling whenever, and I just saw him walk in. Talk to me a little bit about your goals and thoughts about why you're going into education, and then you all can wrap right up with your final thoughts on where you're going to be in terms of book signings and anything else that you want folks to know about the book other than the cost.
Sure. I think that any educator can tell you that teaching is about having a passion for your students, and it's about wanting to see students succeed in every area of their life. So it's not just, getting an A on that paper that you assign them, but it's seeing them grow to be socially competent and socially aware of what's going on in their world and giving them the tools to make an impact on their world. And I think that through our piece, we've had the opportunity to do that, and sharing our own experience with students is more meaningful than just telling them, hey, you can go do something.
And I'd have to just jump off Paige and agree with her and say that for me, teaching is about helping students recognize their own potential and build their ambition in a way that will take that far outside the classroom. So I'm so eager to get out there.
I know that where I'll be going is actually just kind of like teaching. So I'm really excited to hopefully give people the opportunity.
It's the same deal. You're working with people. You're trying to take them from one level to the next. Matter of fact, yours is going to be even more of a challenge because
and I'm ready for it.
those who work in our special education departments and with our special needs kids, they take theirs up to a second power to what your gen ed teacher, as we call them, take. So, okay, and then closing words in terms of promoting the books, anything coming up, more publicity, magazine articles, book signings. Ron, go ahead.
Well, Mark, thank you. We've had the pleasure of being in the Record, in the local newspaper. We want to give a shout out to our friend MJ Park, who was a reporter for the Record, who we had a front page article written by him last year. We've been in several publications. On May 3rd, we will be at the Bergen County Historical Society Authors Day. The Bergen County Historical Society is located at the historic New Bridge Landing in Hackensack, New Jersey, by the shops at Riverside. So we will be there on May 3rd, which is a Sunday, by the way, 12 to 3. Our book is available freely on Amazon and from our publisher, Arcadia Publishing. However, we look forward to being at Eastern Christian School, the Holland Dutch Home, and the Barnes & Nobles in Paramus, and the one in Clifton in the next couple of months. One last shout out. We've had people who have been most supportive of us. William Patterson University has been very supportive. They have placed us front and center on the university's homepage. President Waldron, the public relations, advertising, marketing, the development people, Pam Ferguson, who is vice president of development, our colleagues in the College of Education and in the university have been very, very supportive of all of our efforts. We can't thank them enough for the work that they have done on our behalf.
Well, again, as I said earlier, I am so glad you all joined me, because for me, this, particularly after I picked up the William Patterson magazine and saw it featured, I'd say, well, that would be a natural alliance. That for every professor that has written or published, if they want to come on the show, and actually when President Waldron first came, she came on the show. She came on, I had a chance to meet her, and we chatted for about 45 minutes or so on the air as well. But it's a resource. And my show is on books, so if you've written one, I'm more than welcoming and inviting in terms of having you on here.
Well, hopefully we will spread the word.
Please.
I will among my colleagues and make it known to them that this resource is here for them. We have prolific writers and researchers at William Patterson, and it would be wonderful for them to tell their story in such a agreeable environment as we are in here today. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you enough.
And so we've wrapped up now this hour, and I'm going to transition over, and as I let Paige, Ron, a.k.a. Dr. Verdicchio, as well as